Global food costs continue their retreat from a 9-year high. United Nations gauge of food prices dropped for the second month, pointing to some relief for consumers and, of course, easing inflation pressures. Joining us now is Bloomberg's agriculture reporter, Megan Durisin. Megan, so what drove prices lower this month?
Yeah, Danny, that's right. So the index is down for a second month in a row now. It's still pretty close to a 9-year high, but is giving some relief to shoppers around the world. We're getting close to the time of year when the Northern Hemisphere countries are going to be harvesting grain. That's going to help replenish supplies that have been a bit stretched over the past year. Similar situation for the oilseed markets. And FAO mentioned for commodities like rice, we're seeing a trade slowdown, partially due to the spike in freight and shipping costs around the world.
Megan, I do have to say, if you look at this index over a longer period of time, it still looks really remarkable. It's up about 30% year over year. So even with the drop in this month and prior months, is that food inflation concern? Is it still relevant for governments?
Yes, certainly. So we've seen just in the past couple of weeks, for example, the grain trade, we watch crop tenders pretty closely, and quite a few countries have either canceled tenders or bought quite a bit less than expected. This is the time of the year when they usually count on, kind of a flurry of freshly harvested grains to be making purchases affordable. But this year, prices are still quite historically high. And we've also seen countries like Egypt, for example. The president this week called for a potential hike in the cost of subsidized bread that they have in the country for citizens. So, yeah, this is all combining. It's certainly something that a lot of governments and officials still talking about.
What about the forecast? How do we think that this will play out for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so weather is still going to be pretty critical in the next few months. Just in recently, we've seen for a staple like wheat, there's been flooding, there's been drought, there's been heat waves hitting a lot of the major producers. So that's all kind of combining to trim production forecasts. How that plays out will definitely have a bearing on price and also demand in some of the key buyers like China, and whether that will still stay hot. That's going to be a big factor for food prices going forward.
Megan, thanks for bringing us this a really important story. That's our Bloomberg agriculture reporter, Megan Durisin.